Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's boardzy, and this is an absolutely shocking, monumental day in gaming mice. Zowie has come out with a new shape, and this is going to be a review of the U2, which I have had my hands on for a few months now. This has been a secret mouse, not a very well kept secret, but I'm going to get right into the review, I guess starting with shape. And yeah, in my opinion, this mouse kind of represents a shift from Zowie finally entering the modern lightweight era of mice, and this shape is just very different to anything on the market. If I had to pick a Zowie shape that I would say it best compares to, that would be the S2, but again, it's just so modified to the point, like calling it a clone would just be idiotic. But yeah, I would say this is a predominantly claw grip shape, even an emphasis on relaxed claw grip. You can definitely pull off a fingertip. It wouldn't be my number one choice, but there's really no problem with that. But yeah, for claw grip, this is just one of the more interesting shape designs I have ever seen. If you look at the mouse, you just see how it gets so narrow towards the grip width and then a bit wider outwards, but it's just like, I don't know, the shape feels very natural. It has absolutely the deepest thumb groove I've ever felt on an ambidextrous mouse. It's just hard to explain, but like your thumb is truly going to be sitting, like digging in there. And yeah, on the right side of the mouse, you get pretty much the same deal for your pinky and ring fingers. And when I'm using this mouse, I just can't think of another shape where my thumb and pinky just line up so perfectly, and it just feels like they're closer to each other than any other mouse, which just allows me to keep a really stable grip. And combining that with the hump, which is not going to be high profile, but it does get wider towards the bottom, it flares out and just fills up the meaty part of like your palm. So yeah, this is a shape that for my 21 by 11 hands, it does not feel too narrow. I would say if you have like significantly larger hands on me than me, you might want to wait for a larger version. But yeah, this is a shape that's very stable. I just feel locked in on it. You can see like my thumb placement just lines up perfectly with the side curvature, and it's really just a joy to use and grip shape-wise. And yeah, like I said before, the hump is really where I feel that this mouse is closest to the S2, but even then, it is a longer mouse. The hump isn't quite as flat and towards the middle of the mouse. You can just feel it's slightly catered back, and I think that it just feels a bit nicer in the hand. This is a shape that Zowie claims was designed for Fortnite and other games where you need like multiple angle movements as opposed to just horizontal movements in Counter-Strike, which is what Zowie mice were pretty much designed for. And yeah, I can just confirm that this new approach feels nice, at least for me personally. My experience has been good. I've seen some other reviews where people compare this mouse to like using a pen or something, just where you have fine point control over it. And again, I think that's due to the thumb and pinky being so close together on this mouse, really just unlike anything else. And yeah, next thing I want to talk about is quality, and Zowie mice have a reputation for being literally rock solid tanks, but I do have just the lightest side popping issue. I'll see if you can hear it. Like every time I just tap my thumb on the side, I get a little pop. This is something that really, when I'm gaming, applying pressure with headphones on, I can't hear it. I can barely feel it. It's not something that affects me whatsoever. But Zowie even did say that they looked this unit over and did not spot that issue. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. But yeah, obviously, like I said, it's not major. It doesn't affect me in gameplay. But a company like Zowie, they're going to try to address that issue because for them, it's just like, it's not acceptable quality. But yeah, really, for all intents and purposes, this mouse does feel rock solid. Like I could throw it at my wall, there would be some damage done. And all of the buttons are solid quality-wise. There's no like actual QC issues to report, aside from that one minor thing. The coating of the mouse, absolutely perfect. The same as the new Zowie wireless coating. Like I compare it to the old C version of the wireless mice, and this was definitely a lot more slippery, or maybe it's just due to how much I used it, the coating wore down, but I would say this is like a solid 9.5 out of 10, like truly just one of the best coatings on the market. The side buttons as well, I really feel like they listen to me on these, just begging for large side buttons. Like, why don't more companies do this? This is pretty much the size of like the Logitech G703 side buttons, and they're just fucking massive. They're incredible. They're light. I did see a few reviews complaining about post travel. I honestly I don't have any. Like maybe if you click at the top, but yeah, I don't know. I've been using this mouse a ton in Fortnite, and I really never had a single complaint. The side buttons are huge. They're well positioned, and yeah, there's not a single bad thing to say about them. They are glossy. I don't really mind that. That's kind of just how Zowie's always done their side buttons. So yeah, for me, these side buttons are close to perfect, and if you have a problem with this side button design, you are just certified weird. I don't know what to say. Main switches, these are using Huano transparent blue shell, pink dots, I believe. This is one of Huano's newer switches. The click feel is not going to be identical to the old wired mice or even like the wireless. Yeah, I had to pull out my EC2CW because this has noticeably softer clicks, so I would say that these are a little bit sharper. It could be unit to unit variance, but these are definitely, they don't have that typical Zowie post travel where there's a bit of like softness, so I would say, so these are not going to be a heavy click. I don't want anybody to take this wrong, but they are just going to be a little bit firmer and have a more tactile response than the previous Zowie mice's clicks. Anything like side play, stuff like that, it's just really not a concern. I don't have any switch grinding. People complain that Zowie mice don't have a cutoff design. I don't think that's really a big deal. Like, if I would trust one company's, like, mouse body structure, it is Zowie's. Like, I just don't understand what issue is arising from it. It's not like anybody is seriously clicking this far back on their mouse. Like, I can't imagine that. But if you are, the clicks would be really fucking heavy. Click latency wise, I did see House Gaming's video. These are going to be 8 ms if you don't use fast, like low debounce mode. But if you plug the mouse in and you hold mouse 4, you're going to have around 4 ms of click latency. So it's not as good as a super light. So you shouldn't buy it. End of video. Obviously, I'm just kidding. Fucking 4 ms of click latency versus 1, it's really not going to matter. I had no issues like timing like edits in Fortnite, clicking scenarios. It's just not going to feel like a shitty delayed mouse, and if you really think that, you are brain dead. I'm sorry, I hate to say it. And one thing that you guys who care about latency might be missing is that Zowie designed this mouse with sports science, and due to the smaller thumb curve angle, the clicks are going to feel lighter, which in turn makes you have lower actual natural latency. So you do have to factor in things like that. This is also going to be confined to 1000 hertz polling rate. It is using a 3395 sensor though, versus the 3370 Zowie had been sticking to. So perhaps there will be a higher polling rate option in the future. Honestly, with the enhanced receiver already, I doubt that, but I just can't report any issues that I had using the mouse wirelessly. So yeah, a solid 1K hertz implementation. That is not going to feel subpar, lackluster. I was not playing worse because this mouse did not have 4K, but obviously I would encourage a 4K implementation in the future. But really, wirelessly, this mouse felt solid, stable, definitely on par with some of the best wireless mice out there. So yeah, I would say that when you look at this mouse as an entire package, it's, at least based on my experience, it is impossible to not be satisfied with it. It's a new shape that clearly a lot of effort was put into. Clicks are solid, side mounts are great, coding is great. The scroll wheel is just Zowie. There is no other way to describe it. It is tried and true. It is notchy. It is loud. It's not for everybody, but honestly, I feel like I've just used them so much now that I'm pretty much used to it. It does feel identical to the other wireless mice. But yeah, for $130, is this a fucking steal? No. One thing I forgot to mention is the stock skates. Look at that top skate design to make it possible to work with the fucking charger. I mean, that's just weird. People knock on the Zowie skates. I mean, I've used mine a ton on glass pads, everything. You can see they're starting to wear down, but it's not like, you can still hear the smoothness. It's not like they're scraping, and they're fine at the end of the day. But I do hear that they're working on a white PTFE solution that will supposedly be like faster and higher quality. I encourage that, but it's like, yeah, the Zowie skates, they are Zowie skates, just like the rest of the mouse. And I would say if you are interested in the mouse, just a Zowie fan, want to try out their new shape, 100% go for it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. There are obviously some people that this shape is not going to work for, so just really, I would say, know your shape preferences. Compared to something like the Superlight, it's just, it has a unique twist to it. It is not your prototypical mouse design. It is kind of experimental, I guess, but it just doesn't feel like an aggressive, awkward shape in hand. At least to me, it just came naturally. I just realized I've somehow forgotten to talk about the weight, which is another crazy aspect of this mouse that I just kind of got so adjusted to it went without saying. But yeah, this is a 61 gram mouse, so a lot lighter than we are used to seeing from Zowie. Extremely well balanced, like pretty much perfect balancing. And this is obviously not trying to like rival the ULX when it comes to weight, but pretty much being identical to the GPX2 in terms of weight. Extremely well balanced. It just feels impressive. It feels more modern. So yeah, I am a fan of the weight. I never thought that the mouse feels too light, and I feel like it's really a great midpoint for people who are used to Zowie's typical weights and people who enjoy lightweight mice. Like most features of this mouse, I don't think there are going to be many people who hate it. One last thing to mention, I guess, is the battery life, which did seem very good in my months of like hidden on and off testing of this mouse. I did only charge it once. I don't know exactly how many hours I used it, but it was a long time, so the battery life is not going to be poor by any means. This mouse will be getting the seal of approval, even with the minor flex issue. I feel like that really doesn't detract from the mouse, and other than that, it is just pretty much perfect quality-wise. The clicks do have a little bit of free travel, but I think that is just to reduce stiffness and increase spammability, so there's just not a lot really even to nitpick. I enjoyed this mouse a lot. It'll definitely be staying on my desk in the main rotation to compare to some other newer offerings. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, make sure to let me know in the comments below. That's going to be all. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and peace. Zowie, shocking.